Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer video. And today, we're going to be talking about 10 red-green budget decks that are perfect for the Pioneer format. So this video is made for people that are maybe looking to get into the Pioneer format, and you're maybe not sure if you want to yet, you don't want to spend a lot of money on some of the expensive shocklands and stuff like that, so you're just kind of testing the waters a little bit, or if you're looking to just kind of upgrade your Pioneer deck arsenal, and you're looking for more decks that are really fun, maybe unique to what you already have, but not necessarily going to break the bank. This video is perfect for you. So this is the 6th video detailing different budget decks. We went over all the different monocolor decks, and now we're going to start with the dual color decks. So I figured I'd start with Gruul just because Gruul is my personal favorite color combination, and there's a lot of spicy decks that I have to share with you today. But before we hop into the actual list here, I have to mention these few things with all these decks. Obviously, they have to be Gruul. Every single one of these spells has to be able to be cast by, either a mountain or by a forest. That's really, really important. Less than $50. After all, this is a budget series. We don't want to be going, $100, $150 plus or anything like that. $50 is my limit for actually putting money into each of these decks. Flavorful theme. They need to just be more than just like a general, just all of the best Gruul cards for the most part. I guess one of those decks is kind of like that, but it's pretty much the best deck in the entire metagame, so I figured I would make a budget version of that one. And it also needs to be easy for new players. Not necessarily just for new players, but we're not trying to play any cards that have a whole bunch of word soup on them. We're trying to just play some simplistic cards that are at least strong but easy to understand. So let's go and hop to the actual list here. So the first one I have to mention is the deck that I mentioned just a moment ago, RedGreen Prowess, the budget version of that. This is pretty much the best deck. Well, I say best deck in the metagame. It is the most played deck in the metagame. It's really just your traditional red aggro decks that are also looking to, go a little bit bigger with cards like Monstrous Rage, Questing Druid. I personally put an Opera Love Song. I think that card's really good. But yeah, it's just red-green. I don't want to say burn. It plays a little bit of burn. It does play Burst Lightning and play with fire, but it's not necessarily a burn deck. It's really just plays a bunch of prowess creatures, and that's why it's called RedGreen Prowess. Okay, so the next deck I have to talk about is a Tarker Red, which is kind of similar to the first deck, but instead of just going more burn, it goes a little bit more creature heavy. So you play cards like Burning Tree Emissary, and what you're really trying to do is take advantage of Reckless Bushwhacker's Surge cost, because if its Surge cost is paid, other creatures get +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. So you're trying to play, obviously, Monster Swift Spear, Heartfire Hero, but also cards like Cunning Coyote, Aloe Alchemist to be able to take advantage of the Surge cost. And yeah, this deck is just really, really cool. It just go wide, play a Tarkus command. It's also why it's called a Tarker Red, is because of the signature card, a Tarkus command. That's what you're trying to do in this deck, and it's pretty fun overall. So the next deck we have to talk about is RedGreen Haste, a deck that I've played quite a few times at my local F&M. I've always enjoyed this deck. The core of this deck is Samut Vizier of Noctamoon. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, if the creature entered this turn, you get to draw a card. So what we're doing is we're playing a whole bunch of hasty creatures that are smacking our opponent the turn they come into play. Obviously cards like Earthshaker Kenra, Questing Beast, Reckless Stormseeker, Axebane Feryx, Rampaging Raptor, Questing Beast, Glorybringer. That's what we're trying to do in this deck. Play a bunch of hasty creatures, turn them sideways, except other than Questing Beast because it does have Vigilance, and we're trying to take our opponent out of the game as quickly as we can. So the next thing I have to talk about is RedGreen Scales, which honestly is a pretty unique take on the whole Hardened Scales deck. Usually you see either mono green, or you see more of an artifact style, or even green white, but this is red green. It plays a lot of really sweet red cards that can definitely take advantage of Hardened Scales, most notably cards like Thundering Raiju. Obviously Questing Druid is very good in here, Gruul Spellbreaker, Voldaren Thrillseeker. You have some really good red cards that surprisingly really, really love 1/1 counters, and yeah, this deck is just really fun to play. I've always been a big fan of Hardened Scales, and this deck is certainly no exception to that. So the next deck I have to talk about is RedGreen Kicker, a deck that I've always loved for quite some time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the most powerful deck that you can play in the Pioneer format, but if you love Kicker and Kicker, decks and shells and cards, this is definitely the deck that you're going to like playing. What's nice is all of our creatures are very flexible. We can play them in the early game, at least for a modest cost, but then once we start getting to 5 and 6 mana, we can start really having some strong cards. Obviously, cards like Untamed Kavu is fantastic, similar to Gnarlid Colony, where, they start off as bears pretty much, but then you put some extra mana into them, and you get some really, really nice value, honestly, from cards like this. We also get to play just really strong cards like Burst Lightning and Inscription of Abundance, which are very good cards that just happen to have Kicker, so we can get additional abilities from that. So yeah, RedGreen Kicker, definitely one of my favorite decks here, and I believe is the cheapest of all the decks, just because most of the cards from this are just commons and uncommons. So the next thing I have to talk about is RedGreen Landfall. I've always been a huge fan of Landfall and Landfall strategies. I actually showed this deck off not that long ago on the channel here, but this one's a little bit more budget oriented because you know, some cards like Bristly Bill and things like that are very expensive. So we're playing some different cards like Sabotender, for instance, which is pretty good. So instead of playing Scapeshift with this deck, what we're trying to do is play Splendid Reclamation, which is a lot more budget friendly. It's still 4 mana, but we return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to put cards like Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, as well as Escape Tunnel into our graveyard, and then reanimate them back. That's essentially what we're trying to do with this deck. And we play a whole bunch of cheap landfall creatures, obviously like Size Kokobo, Brushfire Elemental, a Comb Hellhound, that kind of thing. Really, really fun deck. RedGreen Landfall, personally, one of my favorites. So the next thing we have to talk about is Dragons. That's right, RedGreen Dragons. One of my favorite decks featured here today. I've always been a huge fan of Dragons in the Pioneer format, and this deck is certainly no exception to that. So what we're trying to do is play some early game ramp like Lanarwelves, Elvish Mystic, and Herd Heirloom, and then we're trying to play some mid-sized creatures, you know, Thunderbrick Regent and Atsushi the Blazing Sky, and then we're trying to finish off the game with cards like Glorybringer and Stormbreath Dragon. All the big ones have haste, just because after all, we want them to have some immediate value as soon as they come into play. So that's why we're playing the full, you know, 8 Haster Dragons there. So yeah, RedGreen Dragons, a deck that I really, really love playing at my local FNM. But if you like Dragons, but you kind of more like to play the bigger version of Dragons, well, you're going to want to play Dragon Ramp. So this deck does have some similar creatures. You know, you're still playing Glorybringer, but with this deck, what I wanted to do is play See the Unwritten. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield and put the rest in your graveyard. But if we control a creature with power 4 or greater, we get to put 2 creatures into play. So what I'm trying to do with this deck is I'm trying to play Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind and Cactus Folk Sure Shot to give our big dragons haste, so that way when we do play a See the Unwritten, we can largely just kind of finish the game right away. Obviously, Cactus Folk Sure Shot, Bone Crusher Giant, and Topiary Stomper help us get the Ferocious off of See the Unwritten, which is kind of important, and obviously we get to play a big card like Big Dragon Lord Atarka. That's what we're trying to do in this deck, trying to play some slightly bigger dragons, but end the game as soon as we play a See the Unwritten. But if you're also a big fan of See the Unwritten and you love big ramp decks, you're probably going to love this Dinosaur Ramp deck. Somewhat similar style to the RedGreen Dragon Ramp, except we're playing different cards, obviously like Palani's Hatcher, Regisaur Alpha, Trumpeting Carnosaur, Galta Primal Hunger. We're still playing See the Unwritten, it's just a different type of deck. We still get to play Topiary Stomper and Bone Crusher Giant, obviously. It's a little bit different style ramp deck, you know, obviously we're fighting on the land instead of the skies, but yeah, RedGreen Dinosaur Ramp. And our last deck that I have to feature, everyone who watches this channel knows what deck was going to be last year. It's my personal favorite deck in the Pioneer format, really just in general to play in Magic. That is RedGreen Dinosaur Aggro. I've always loved this deck. It's my favorite deck pretty much in Magic. It's really simple. We play some early game creatures like Lanarwelves, Elvish Mystic, and Marauding Raptor. We start playing some good mid-sized creatures that we're curving into, like Pugnacious Hammerskull, Regal Imperiosaur, and Rampaging Raptor. We finish off the game with some of our slightly bigger dinosaurs like Regisaur Alpha, as well as Galta Primal Hunger. This has been a deck that I've been tuning for quite some time, and I've always had a blast with it. It's such a fun deck to play. I love red-green dinosaurs. I love red-green decks in general, but yeah, Dinosaur Aggro takes the cake. It is my absolute favorite deck to play. And definitely let me know in the comment section below which of these 10 decks is your favorite. Is there any of these decks that you're thinking about building, or maybe you already have these decks built and you want to kind of compare what cards you're playing in your specific decks? Just let me know in the comment section. And that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Sarah Loki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Comic Cold, Jeremy P, and BG Stilts. If you are interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 US a month, and you gain access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane, thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.